Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. CNN fake news anchor Van Jones. What are you doing, man? What are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your existence? It's funny how things can change so fast. We all remember during Joe Biden's inauguration, Van Jones was literally brought to tears. It was such a historic and momentous occasion. Joe Biden was the perfect man for the job, so much so that Van Jones literally cried.
If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. It's a vindication for a lot of people who have really suffered.
Oh, and little correction, it was when the election was actually called for Joe Biden on all of the fake news networks on November 7th that Van Jones cried, not Inauguration Day, but still you guys get the point. CNN fake news hack Van Jones was making the claim that Joe Biden saved the country from the evil orange man and that decency had been restored. It was a really emotional moment for little Vanny, but, well, it also seems to be a moment that isn't exactly aging well. Fast forward almost 2 years later, Van Jones is now on CNN forced to admit that life is now much harder and much more painful for Black Americans than it was just 2 years ago. We gotta cover the change in tone, folks. Just the juxtaposition of this I find hilarious. So we've got some stuff out of CNN that we just gotta cover. Let me show you guys what's going on, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, it's gone from Joe Biden is the savior of the world to this. Van Jones makes revealing admission about Black Americans under Biden. The pain is more intense. CNN commentator Van Jones admitted Thursday that life for Black Americans is worse under President Joe Biden, whose policies have deflated their hope for a better future. Take a look at what he had to say.
African American voters in particular, there's a special heartbreak because, first of all, the pain is more intense. The rising gas prices, food prices, it's really walloped the Black community in a particular way. But the hopes were so much higher. And so you have a community that came out in huge numbers in 2018, huge numbers in 2020, expecting things to get a lot better. And instead, economically at least, it didn't come true. It got worse. And so you're going through a summer now of real heartbreak with Black voters. The polls show that. And I think Biden's got to take it very seriously.
How?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I don't think that they're doing a good job or even trying to communicate some of the stuff that's been done for the Black community. For instance, billions of dollars for Black colleges. Nobody knows that. The Department of Justice has Kristen Clark in place now. They are actually now going after police departments and fixing police departments in a way that hadn't happened under Trump. They backed off. The Department of Justice under Trump was charging people way too much criminally. They're backing off of that. You also have more Black women put on the federal courts of appeals than has ever been done by any president. Even though it's had 8 years, he's done it in less than 2. He's doing stuff they're not communicating. I think if I were the Democratic Party right now, the Black community is a firewall. They need to be spending a lot of money on Black radio, a lot of money in Black media to just point out the fact that Joe Biden is there for the Black community and is doing stuff. Right now, that particular pain is not being addressed aggressively enough.
Now, we started off pretty decent and then walked into a territory of total copium. It's funny how these people call themselves journalists, but really all they are cheerleaders for the Biden administration. When things don't go well, they do nothing but try to justify it or shift blame. But he has to acknowledge at least the base reality that Black Americans are not doing well under Joe. And he has to admit that the pain is pretty real. You know, there's a whole lot of media manufactured emotions during the Trump administration, but at least there wasn't pain. There was a bunch of whining, a bunch of drama, a bunch of, oh, the evil orange racist man is in office, a bunch of fear-mongering, but really Black America was in a better place, especially economically under Trump, than most other presidents. But now people are feeling real pain, being unable to afford the basic necessities that you need for yourself and your family to survive. I mean, that's real pain. And CNN's in a position right now where they just have to admit it, because Black voters are leaving the Democrat Party in droves, and these Democrat hacks in the media, pretending to be journalists, have no other choice but to acknowledge it and to speak about it, because it's one of the greatest threats to their clutch on power. Van Jones rightly mentioned that voter turnout in 2020 and 2018 was up, particularly from the Black community. And if now that starts to turn around, or people aren't exactly as motivated to show up to the polls, or if people in particular voting demographics start to vote for Republicans, well then when Donald Trump gets elected again for his second term, with a little small 4-year break in between, Van Jones might be brought to tears again. And so they are so desperate to turn this thing around for Sleepy Joe. And you can tell by all the copium Van Jones later goes on to say there's not enough focus, or that Joe Biden doesn't get credit for the things that he's done for black Americans. And then he lists off, Biden has been, quote, doing stuff for the black community, like funding black colleges, which of course is actually what Donald Trump did. That's a completely disingenuous lie, not to mention, during the Trump years, Van Jones actually gave Donald Trump credit on that exact issue, and now he's trying to attribute it to Joe Biden. He then goes on to say that another Biden accomplishment for the black community is going after police departments and fixing police departments. An absolutely disgusting thing to say if you ask me. Based on all the polling data that we've covered, the majority of the black community doesn't want the government to go after police departments. They want safe communities. They don't want this idea of fixing police or fixing the justice system, as Van Jones stated, giving linear sentences or being softer on crime. That's actually the exact opposite of what the black community wants. They want safety, and they're dropping off Democrat policies when it comes to public safety. In major fashion, that's probably part of their undoing these days, especially with minority voters. And then he goes on to say another great achievement from the Biden administration, nominating black justices to the federal courts, but then later on knocked Joe Biden for not communicating those purported accomplishments. Do those sound like accomplishments to you? This is what I mean by this stuff is disgusting. How insulting must it be as a black voter for accomplishments for them to say, well, we nominated a black Supreme Court justice, as if that's like an accomplishment or something that affects your life, as if that's like a big policy win or major economic results that actually affect you. I mean, how patronizing is that? That's not an accomplishment. That's a pander. That's virtue signaling. That's empty diversity nonsense that does absolutely nothing for anyone. Oh, let me list off all these Biden accomplishments. The first one, well, actually, Donald Trump did that. The second one, well, actually, black people and black communities don't want that. And the third one, well, we nominated a black woman to the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, under Donald Trump's watch, inflation was low, gas prices were low, historic gains, a historic bull run, wages going up, unemployment the lowest it's ever been, tax cuts that put extra dollars in lower class people's hands directly, not tax credits, which is just the government printing more money and giving you extra money, but then making you poorer through inflation, an actual tax cut. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg under Donald Trump. And this in the end is probably the core of the Blexit movement in the first place. What have the Democrats done for me is probably what a lot of people are asking themselves. I said this on my Twitter the other day. Joe Biden might be the greatest Republican president in American history. Historic gains. The guy's red-pilling people like no one else. Under this administration, black people are questioning themselves. Joe Biden said, vote for me or you ain't black. Supposedly voting for him was going to change my life for the better, and now look at what's happening. And now you have Van Jones, the clown on CNN, claiming Joe Biden's accomplishments for the black community. And the only thing that kind of makes sense or kind of sticks, or isn't just a flat-out lie, is nominating and approving Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. That's what the Democrats have done for me. Meanwhile, I've lost my retirement savings. I can't afford a home. I can't borrow money anymore. It's getting too expensive. My 401k is tanking. Inflation is through the roof. Schools are still failing. Crime is up. My neighborhood is more dangerous. And this is exactly what I mean by Joe Biden is the biggest red pill catalyst, I think, since the Hillary Clinton-Donald Trump debates. And so really, Van Jones is probably just the metaphor, before and after. What was expected versus reality, or expectations versus reality. How it started versus how it's going. It started off with the glee and tears of hope. Oh my God, the media has been telling me just how bad things are for the last 4 years. Under evil Cheeto Man, we finally got rid of him, and we got Obama's right-hand man. We've secured our blackness by voting for him, and now life is just gonna get so much better. That's how it started versus how it's going, which of course at this point I'd be a broken record, stating all the bullet points. You guys get it. Before and after Van Jones crying, to Van Jones admitting reality. Well, that right there is a metaphor for black Americans and how they're feeling. Expectations versus reality. Welcome to Biden's America. Maybe Trump's America wasn't so bad. Maybe this idea of Jussie Smollett's MAGA country wasn't this racist, fascist dystopia, but rather an economic hotspot moving forward with incredible opportunity. Maybe. Just maybe. But friends, that's what I got for you guys on this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like. I'm going to get back to work. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.